Greetings, friends. I don't know about you, but man, do I like me some meat. Good. Do you have a favorite type of meat? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, if I had to narrow it down to just one type of meat to be my favorite, man, I'm kind of struggling with that. Growing up, I primarily ate just chicken and beef. And then as I got to get older, I started diversifying that a little bit and started eating other things. Like I've had elk before. Have you had elk? Man, it was really good. Fantastic. I've also eaten things like deer and lamb and goat and fish. Some of my favorite fish is probably salmon. I really like salmon. I also like bass too. But one of the things that I've started adding into my diet over the past couple years has been duck, especially with raising ducks here. And man, do I like me some duck. It is good. And yesterday was the day for processing more ducks. And I got this new tool. It's this little hook for grabbing the legs of the chickens or ducks, any of your birds, as you're trying to get them. And man, that really did help out with doing the job of getting them together to move them up to the processing area. Now, over the years, I've experimented with all types of diets. And as a former nutritional coach and fitness trainer, I would also work with clients on various types of diets. And one of those diets included a vegan and vegetarian diets. And one of the things that I noticed about those diets is that short term, there were benefits. However, long term, there were some negative results that came about as those diets. Now, I'm not knocking anybody who feels that you really need to be on that diet. I'm just expressing things that I personally went through and personally watched some of my clients go through that I was working with. And one of the things that I personally noticed is that I felt like I was generally just getting weaker and my hormones were just kind of all over the place in a negative way. So after being on that for some time, I decided this diet is not for me. So fast forward a couple years, then I started being a homesteader and started raising animals, and I was eating meat again. And one of the things that I believe with eating meat, if you eat meat, you should have at least once in your life had a hands-on opportunity with processing that animal, an animal. So as I was raising animals and I was starting to work through those things and have those thoughts going through my head, I was like, all right, we're raising chickens now. I need to process these. Can I do it? Will I be able to do it when the time comes? I was raising Rhode Island Reds at the time, and I was like, I really need to figure out if I can do it. I want to do it at least once to say that I have done it once. So we did it. And I still remembered it. And each time that we go about processing animals to provide us with food, it's not something that I go through emotionless or mindless as I do it. It's something that's really touching to me. That an animal, his life is taken for my life and my family's life to continue on. And that's special and impactful. And yesterday, as we transported those ducks up to the processing area, and then we began the processing, well, first off, we always strive to begin with prayer. Acknowledging God as the creator, the life giver, and the one who provides us with the things to eat. And ask his blessing on the whole processing. And then as we begin, one of my philosophies is if I'm the one primarily raising the animal, it's my responsibility to be the one that dispatches the animal. And it's powerful and tough at times to do, to be the one that drains that animal of the blood, and then seeing it drain out, it hits you. And I feel with each butchering that we do here, we get better and better at it. I'm at the dispatch station, and then after I dispatch them and the animal's gone, I put them in the scalding water, and then from there, put them into the plucker, remove most of the feathers, and then from there, I hand them off to Lacie for the waxing. And she's our wax girl, and she puts them in the hot wax, and then puts it in the cool water with the wax, so the wax hardens, and then once she starts pulling it off, It just pulls out those follicles of the feathers from the skin, and then from there we moved them over to Selah and her friend Sydney, and they did a great job of working together. It's one of those things that homesteading friends can do these type of projects together, and it's just neat to see them working together. And they were at the evisceration station pulling them out, and they're really tough farm girls, let me tell you. So we finish up with processing. We set the whole birds and carcasses in ice water in the cooler and let them sit overnight. And then our farm helper and friend Sarah helped Lacie with salting up the ducks. Get a workout carrying those.
Oh wow.
Is that the big one right there?
Yep. I call it a turkey.
Yeah, I think there's.
And now they've been cooking over here in our smoker. And speaking of that, I think it's time to flip them over. All right. Ooh, look at there. Let's give them a flip here and flip there. Man, I think those are gonna be yummy. I really like smoked duck. Good. Definitely no soy boy here. You know what, I did try soy in the past when I was trying the whole vegan thing. And there was these sausages that actually taste pretty good that I would eat in the mornings. But man, did they make my stomach hurt. And I kept wondering, why am I having a stomach ache? And then I took those things out of my diet. What do you know, stomach ache was gone. But one of the reasons I got caught up in all of that is I just kind of got deceived into the anti-meat agenda that's kind of going on, and I've been seeing rise and get more momentum each and every year. And the whole thing that eating less meat or no meat is healthier for you, and that's just not true. I just see beef demonized and so many things like that. And over the years, from my experiences and researching and resources like Weston A. Price and others, just showing me that's not true. And one thing that stood out to me is they've been promoting for years and years this low-fat diet. That eating meat and fat is what causes high cholesterol and heart disease. If that's the case, then why does heart disease continue to rise each and every year? Just think about it. One of the things to think about along with that is with animals, when you're raising animals, and when you want that animal to get fatter, put more weight on, what do you feed it? You feed it more grains. So the same with people. The more grains we eat, typically the more weight we're gonna put on. Alrighty, so I need to add some more coals to this. Another thing that I had to work through mentally is seeing the realities of factory farming. Movies like Food Inc. really opened my mind to what goes on and how animals are raised in the commercial food system. and seeing how the way that they do things isn't beneficial to the animal, isn't beneficial to the environment, and isn't beneficial to our health. So seeing that, I can see how some people would say, I don't want to eat meat if that's the way they do it. But you know what? That's not all of farming. Thankfully, seeing individuals like Joel Salatin, who was in Food Inc., when I saw that and I saw him in it and how he farms, I was like, I want to farm like that guy.
Yeah, so we move the cows every day. You know, when you look at herbivores in nature, they're moving, they're mobbing, and they're mowing. The reason for the herbivore is to prune the forage to return it to its first stimulate, you know, its fast growth cycle. So, you know, if you let's see, if we look, let me just get, there you go. So if you look at this orchard grass right here, so they've only been off of here for 12 hours, and you can see right there's where it was grazed, and right there's the growth. It's almost probably half an inch in 12 hours.
Wow.
So if you leave them on here for a couple of days, guess what they're going to eat? They're going to go back and nip that again, and that's going to weaken the plant. So by moving them every day to a new spot and letting this rest, it goes through its sigmoid curve of juvenile growth through the rest period. It has time to well, mechanically, it has time to get into fourth gear. If you keep it down in grazed tight, then it can never, you know, get enough leaf area to really kick into high gear. And if you let it go into senescence, then it quits because it, you know, it gets over mature. So the herbivore is a pruner to freshen up the forage and restart the rapid you know, photosynthesis cycle. So moving, mobbing, mowing, that's what they do in nature, and that's what we do here. So by tightening them up, you know, they're in a group, and so let's move them. So I moved them in here this morning. So this morning, this paddock right here looked just like this one. Okay, and so now we're gonna move them. So I'll unhook my very sophisticated hanger there, and this is of course just a, you know, a Lowe's electric cord reel. You know, they're $5.99, cheap, and I just pull that off, let that go. Suck, come on, gals. Come on. Suck, suck, suck. Come on, gals. Come on, gals. Suck, suck, suck. Come on. Come on, gals. Come on, gals. As we stand right here, you know, it's interesting, as you stand right here, you can easily see, you know, we just grazed those two paddocks. We see the mosaic. So those paddocks over there beyond that fence are like 6 days ago.
Okay.
5 days ago, 4 days ago, 3 days ago, 2 days ago, 1 day ago, and so you can see the recovery. You know, you can see the recovery mosaic.
So about how long after you move the cows are you bringing the chickens right behind?
Try to bring them about 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
The fly cycle is 4 days, so we like to get them in about 3 days behind the cows.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They're slick, aren't they?
They are. I feel like I could just pull up a chair and just watch them.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of my favorite things is to come out on an evening like this, when the sun starts to set, and just lie down, and just, you know, they're all full, and they just come up and start to lick you,
wow.
and just all that thousands and thousands of pounds of animal, you know, but they're just gentle. You know, they sniff, you know, sniff you, and you feel their whiskers, you know, on your arms and your face, and you know, they don't step on you. They just come up real close, you know, and they sniff and sniff.
That's great.
As opposed to a pig who would eat you.
That sounds like the kind of connection we're supposed to have, just with the earth and then the animals around us.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's right. And the sound. Hear the sound?
Yeah.
All that pruning going on.
It's like music.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've started trying not to say grazing, because grazing is now not politically correct. You know, grazing, everybody thinks overgrazing, right? So by saying pruning, that's a nice, you know, that's a positive thing. Pruning, that's good, you know, and it helps to describe what they're doing. Yes, they are grazing, but more importantly, they're actually pruning the plant so that they, you know, regrow fast.
And doing it that way is a mutually beneficial relationship for the cow as well as for the vegetation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Whereas if they were just in this field all the time, it would be the palatable, the plants they like, they would graze and keep right down on the ground, and the ones they don't like would get long, and then you get this real. Then you gradually move from palatable to unpalatable species.
And it would basically turn the environment unhealthy as well.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it should be done, because that way of farming is beneficial to the animal, beneficial to the environment, and beneficial to the people eating the food. I never thought that I would have the opportunity to meet Joel when I saw Food Inc. years ago, but having the opportunity to visit his farm, see how he raises his animals, like his chickens, how they are just beautiful to see in the grass, running around, fresh air, eating the bugs, adding fertilizer to the soil, and then seeing the soil and the environment benefit from it. It's amazing. Also seeing his cows, his and Greg Judy's cow systems just amaze me. They're rotational grazing. And when I see that, I'm like, there's no way I believe any of the lies that cow farts, things like cow farts, are causing climate change. No way.
So what the cows are doing is they're actually harvesting the very best plants first. And so there's a lot of energy in the top parts of our plants, and that's kind of what they're going after. They're finding what we call the candy bars in there. They're really succulent, super tender forage. That's the one they get first. And then after about an hour, we call that the candy bar. After an hour or so, then they go after the candy wrapper, the less palatable stuff. But by the night, so they'll be in here about 9-10 hours. And then tonight, around 5 o'clock, we'll move them into another piece. So there's about 330 head in here. And the stocking density, they're on about, well, this bottom piece that we gave is about 3 acres. So they're stocked at about, around 90 to 100,000 pounds per acre. Some people will really increase the stocking density up to like a million pounds per acre. And you can do that, but when you do that, you need to move them more frequently because they run out of food. You can't magically just put animals in at very high stocking densities and then only move them once a day. They're not going to do well. Your land's not going to do well, and the cattle are not going to do well. So what we do is we look at the sides of the animals, and this is the wrong side. It's on the other side, so it'd be on the, well, if you're sitting on the animal, it's on the left side, and we call it a death triangle. And on the death triangle, there's a sunken in spot right by the rib, the pin bone. If that's sunken in, that means you didn't give them enough to eat. And so that gives us some tools that we can use in our grazer's toolbox maybe next time we'll give them a bigger paddock, or we'll move them quicker. So, it changes. I mean, the landscape, the forage, the composition, the soil type. If you're up on a ridge where you got a beautiful grass lagoon mixture, you know, maybe you'll hit a home run on that. If you get them down in the bottom where it's more wet, it seems like the animals, they know which is best. And so when people say animals aren't smart enough to pick what they want, they haven't been with animals very long, because they do. They know what is best. When a cow grazes a plant and pulls off the tip of the plant, there's a symbiosis going on between the cow and that plant, and it leaves a mucus on the nose. And when she rips that plant off, there's a little bit of mucus left on the end of that plant. It's like rocket fuel to a plant to let it grow back. It's like giving a shot of steroids. It just goes kaboom. It's been happening for thousands of years. Animals don't bite grass. Cattle don't bite grass off. Horses can. But the beef cows, they use their tongue, and the tongue comes out the side of the mouth and they rip it off. And when that tugging action, the tugging action of the tongue pulling the sward off, it wakes up all the microbes that are living on the soil root hairs of that plant. There's millions of them down there. And when you bust that plant off, it wakes them all up, it shakes them alive, and they all start eating each other. There's a war going down underneath our feet right now. Billions and billions. We can't even see them unless you look at a microscope. But it's happening underneath our feet. So if you compare that to a sickle bar machine that comes along and mows your pasture off, there's no tugging action. And so a grazed plant will always grow back quicker than one that's mowed off with a mechanical harvester. That's another reason you don't want to put hay up on your farm. So what we're trying to do is shock awake all the microbes in this field with the cattle yanking on the plant, manuring, urinating, trampling, and we call it bruising the soil. So the animal hoof, when it goes down, it spreads open like that. It's always spreading open. And that scissor action is busting up this beautiful litter underneath our feet, which is feeding the soil microbes and the earthworms. It's a wonderful process. It's a process that we can use to heal this planet. We can catch more rainwater because we have all this carbon now we're putting back in the land. We all hear about, you know, we got to get the carbon back in the soil. Well, here's the tools to do it right here. These animals are sequestering carbon out of the air, putting it back in the soil where it belongs. So, yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Real farming, like those guys, Greg Judy, Joe Salton, and many others, that it's beneficial to the land, that they work together in an integrated system. It's not some monoculture where these animals can't move around like in the CAFOs. No, that these systems are regenerative and that they bring blessings to the soil and to the environment. So when I see that, and I want to mimic that here on our homestead, to give them the best life possible and to just have one bad day when they have to be processed. But those are things to think about as well, going into the choices of whether to eat meat or not to eat meat.
So we're gonna let this cook another hour or two because smoking is a process, but it's worth it, trust me. And while these are smoking, I'm gonna head over here because something else I want to do. So right here we have my Alvaron Santa Maria grill, and I've really been looking forward to using this. I recently got it, but one thing that I don't like about it is it has a pig on there. That's actually one of the meats that I don't eat is pork. And I mostly don't eat it for religious reasons, but I know some of you and others out there don't eat any meats in general for religious reasons. But the Bible does have a lot to say about meats. The meats that we should and shouldn't eat. It's covered in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. And it also talks about a time right at the end of the age, end of the world thing happened, that 1 Timothy 4, that people will be forbidding others to eat the meats that God created for us to eat. Pretty interesting. Oh, another interesting thing is Jesus.
he ate meat both before and after the resurrection. Before, he told him, go, one example is, I think it's Luke 22, something like that, Luke 22:7, somewhere around in there. It talks about telling him to go prepare the Passover lamb so that we can eat it. And then afterwards, when he's resurrected, he talks about eating honey and fish with his disciple. This is just something really interesting to think about. So one of the things that I'm striving to do, and I've kind of gotten this inspiration from my buddy John Jackson at Comfort Farms, who also raises a lot of different animals and has a farm where they sell meats and things like that, is he talks about eating the whole animal. And that's something that cultures used to do in the past, is basically maximizing the use of all of the animal when you use it and you butcher it. That's something I want to do. If I put time into raising an animal, and I want to make sure that it's maximized, that it's giving its fullness to us. So we're going to cook up some other things on here, like some duck necks and duck hearts, things that I haven't eaten before, but we're going to give it a shot. We're also going to cook up some hamburgers for our meal for tonight, because the ducks, we're going to save them for later. Cook them all at the same time, and then we let them cool down, then we'll seal them up, and then we freeze them. And then they're real easy meals that we can just pop out and put them in the oven and cook them really quick for dinner.
This don't have a name on it.
So we finished cooking up the hamburgers and smoking the ducks. And we actually had both for dinner. And man, were they good. Yummy. And as I mentioned earlier, trying to cook more parts and utilize more parts of the animal, I tried cooking the duck necks. And the meat was good, but there was so little meat on the necks, I was like, you know what, that's better off as broth. So we're not gonna try to eat the duck necks again, leave them as broth. But we also tried eating the duck hearts.
All right, who's got a heart to eat the heart?
Where's the heart?
Who's gonna
Think you're
try
on
one?
your own with this one.
Oh, you're not gonna do it?
No.
Yuck.
No. Micah,
You gonna eat it?
you gonna eat one? No. He's-
Never and ever. You can eat all of them by yourself.
Salo's definitely gonna try one, right?
Yes, yes. A little piece.
Little piece. What about you, Josiah? Little piece?
I'll tell you what I'll eat.
What?
None.
All right, there's one. Just another mussel.
What?
Alrighty. I'm just gonna get a little piece too, a little piece for me, a little piece for Sayla. Alright, Sayla, there you go. There's your piece.
No, don't look.
Alright, we got our 2 pieces. Ready to give it a shot?
You put it in his mouth. Yuck.
But different. Kind of like a hot dog or something. What do you think it's like?
I think it kind of tastes like the duck.
The duck meat in general?
It tastes like not my favorite though. I don't like the texture.
No. I can't say that I do either. I don't know what I would need to do to make me really like that.
Grind it up and put it in some hamburger.
No.
Yeah, or fry it.
No.
Everything tastes good fried, right? Just kidding.
Almost everything.
Yeah, probably put it in a hamburger. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a consensus, and duck hearts are probably not going to be on the menu in our house.
No, not on our menu, but maybe the dog's menu. Yeah, I think that'll definitely be one of the items that we feed to the dogs here.
So we're still using all the parts of the animal, just in a little different way.
Exactly right. And speaking of diet, and that's been a major topic of this video, I do want to mention that we do believe in having variety in your diet. Meat's important, but also so are some of the other items that are out there to eat, the fruits, the veggies, and all the other things. But meat is an important part, and a world that's trying to influence and do away with us consuming meat is wrong. Trying to put the whole world on one specific diet is wrong, and the Bible calls it a doctrine of demons.
Well, there you go.
And also I do want to mention that there are times when you go on specific diets, whether you're working with allergies, intolerances, and things like that. Just like you went on a carnivore diet to help you with certain things that you were dealing with.
That's right. And, you know, I do better on a real meat-heavy diet, and that's just it. And I feel better, so I'm going to listen to my body, and that's what I'm going to do.
So there you have it. I hope this video just provided you with a little bit more of insight on the realities of raising meat properly and the benefits of it. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
My thoughts have never been clearer. I see what you're doing to me now.